Welcome students of Form 4. In this video, I've transcribed the note that I gave you during class into a PowerPoint, into a video that you can watch afterwards to check if you didn't miss things. After the main part of this video, I will go through a few questions to make sure that you understand some key concepts of this video. This video is about Granville Sharp, Judge Mansfield, and the legal definition of slavery in England, ending into a verdict in 1772 about the legal status of slavery on the soil of England, so in England itself. Granville Sharp, Judge Mansfield, and the legal definition of slavery in England. Now, Granville Sharp was a British junior clerk. That is someone who makes notes and writes about meetings and official stuff. And this British junior clerk worked and lived in London during the second half of the 18th century. That's him, Granville Sharp, British junior clerk. And this junior clerk, he encountered the slave Jonathan Strong in London, but he wasn't in good shape. He was like beaten up. So he encountered the slave Jonathan Strong in the city of London. He was beaten up, the slave. He was nearly killed by his master. He found out. He wasn't in good shape. He was like, was in very bad physical shape. Let's say almost dying. Yes, was nearly killed by his slave master. This Granville Sharp saves the life of Jonathan Strong, but his master sends slave hunters for him. So his master sends slave hunters to hunt for him in the city of London. Jonathan Strong's life is saved, but his master sends slave hunters for him. Granville Sharp decides, and I see I spelled it here correctly, and before I didn't, because Granville Sharp is, of course, without the E to the back. Sorry about that. So, but I won't count it wrong in the test. Granville Sharp without the E, Mr. Fish. Yes, so Granville Sharp decides to go to court with the case of Jonathan Strong, a slave brought to the Caribbean and is being forced to go back to the Caribbean with his master. What is the legal status of this person, Jonathan Strong, on the soil in Great Britain itself? So Granville Sharp decides to take this case, this example, to court to get a legal definition of slavery in Britain. So Granville Sharp decides to go to court with the case of Jonathan Strong. With the case of Jonathan Strong. Don't do that. Yeah? Those dogs. Anyway, Granville Sharp decides to go to court with the case of Jonathan Strong. Granville Sharp wants to get the English law on British soil, walking on British land, on slavery clarified. Is slavery allowed in Britain? Is it a thing? Are there written laws about it? And what does the law say about slavery in Britain? So he wants to get it clarified. He wants to get that clear, actually. Yeah? Is it allowed in Britain? Is it a thing in Britain? Does British law allow it? So he wants to get that clarified. And in 1772, Judge Mansfield decides there is no legal definition of slavery in England. So in 1772, Judge Mansfield decides that there is no legal definition of slavery in England. This means that slavery was not legal in England. Yeah, and this is an important decision because it gave slaves brought from the Caribbean to English soil, to England, to London, Manchester, Birmingham, and other big cities in England, an opportunity to choose to stay there. If they would stay there, they would be free and become part of the Caribbean African community in London and other big cities. If they would decide to go back with their master, they would become a slave again. Yes, so from now on it is illegal. It's illegal to take a slave back against his will. Yeah, back to where? To the Caribbean, to Jamaica, to Barbados, or other parts of the British colonies in the Caribbean. Yeah, and from where? From Britain. So in Britain, slavery is illegal. It is not according to the law. And this is what this verdict, brought to the court by Granville Sharp and decided by John Mansfield, got clarified in the year 1772 in London. So this was like a big argument that the abolitionists, but also enslaved people, got to tell them that they were actually free in Britain. And in Britain, they were not enslaved people. Pretty important, I would say. This is what you'll get from me. Fill this in. Okay, a few questions. We've seen this. Yeah, we've seen this before, right? Okay, slave hunters. Slave hunters were put to use in the Caribbean to hunt slaves who ran away. And according to this story, we learn that slave hunters were also paid and used in the city of London. But slavery, as we've seen, was illegal in London. Going to court. Going to court means you have a court, that's a place where judges work and lawyers. And if you have something you disagree with another person, or you want to get a clarification on what is the law, you can go to court. Yeah, that is impedimento cas de corte. A trial. When you bring something to court, you get a trial with the help of a lawyer, and a judge will say something about a certain topic or give someone a certain punishment. A judge knows the law. A judge listens to both parties. If there are both two parties, listens to the lawyer, looks at the law, and speaks a certain verdict about a case. In this case, a clarification about the status of slavery on British soil in Great Britain. That is what a judge does. And when something is legal, that means it is according to the law. It is written in the law. That means when it's legal. One collections of slave laws, there were multiple. The Barbados Slave Code, the Code Noir of the French, in my best French, and also you had of the Spanish. Do you remember? The Siete Partidas. Those were a collection of slave laws, but those slave laws were laws in the Caribbean. Siete Partidas, the Spanish Caribbean, the Barbados Slave Code in Barbados, a colony of Britain, and the Code Noir in the French Caribbean, like for instance in Martinique, or for instance in how is it called? Saint Domingue. I forgot Saint Domingue. Okay, so here you see it was now illegal to take a slave back to against his will to the Caribbean, in this case the British Caribbean, with its own set of slave laws, of which the Barbados Slave Code is the most famous one from the British Caribbean. So, back to where? Back to the British Caribbean. Yeah. And where was that slave? The slave was, at that point, was present in London or anyway in England, and wasn't allowed to bring this slave back again. I hope this video was helpful. If you want to subscribe, you can do that below. If you have questions, you can ask that during class, or message me by using Teams. And I wish you a very nice day and enjoy everything what you're doing, and give it at 100%, and not 50 but 100, please. See you later during class.